Welcome to the Worst in Faction podcast, starring some guy's girlfriend brought in to make it a GT level event.
You said I could drop after round 1, right?
A literal baby. And of course, John.
Yeah, I don't like this bit anymore, Danny. We're not doing it. Yeah, we're back. Welcome once
John,
again.
We're so back.
We're so back. So back. And again, thanks again to my wonderful wife for coming in and helping us with that little bit at the start.
She's such a good sport.
That is not a real show. So I asked her if she would come on and record and help us with that little intro bit. And she was like, you want me to make fun of you guys again? And I'm like, no. There's just this bit here. It's like, because she's like, because I can do that. I can read mean things about it. I was like, yeah, I know you can.
I would be happy to do that.
A little too happy. So maybe she'll be back in the future to continue to put me in my place. Maybe Danny too. Who knows?
Probably.
But Danny, it's been a couple weeks. We actually have like a really good episode today as we pivot more towards this kind of interview style. We are welcoming Best in Faction, which is where we were talking about Worst in Faction at the start. One third of that crew with Colin Sherman coming on to talk to us about himself, his podcast, and kind of Charity Hammer. And I got to tell you, I mean, behind Inside Baseball, we've said the last 2 episodes now. We've already recorded an interview. It was a really good conversation with Colin.
Yeah, it was great. It was super awesome. Always good to talk with Colin.
Always good to talk with Colin. But more importantly, always good to talk to you, Danny. What have you been up to the past couple of weeks?
It's been a little quiet around the McDevitt household. With the holidays going on, of course. Things have been busy. So I haven't got as much time to do hobby and stuff as I would like. I have played a couple of games on TTS, so I don't get too rusty.
Yeah, I've seen you out there throwing some Blood Angels around.
Yeah, I played a Flesh Terrors army. That was pretty fun.
My apologies, Flesh Terrors.
Well, you wouldn't be wrong by saying they're a Blood Angel successor. So
my answer is just thousands of years too late.
And then what else? I played them. I played my Necrons a couple of times as well. Had good results with all of them. I think I'm gonna try and play a game maybe this weekend. And then I might have a real life game. Yeah, I know. Watch out.
Who you playing?
I've been talking to John Miller. I'm gonna see if I can go out to his place and play a game with him.
Oh. Maybe show him how to play Blood Angels.
Yeah. No, that one will be Necrons for sure. I gotta teach him to respect the Kron again. I'm just kidding. I'm sure it'll be a fun game. Either way. And then I don't know. I picked up the Death Guard Heroes, the Space Marine Heroes Series 3.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Box today from our local shop. I was pretty happy to see that in there. So I'm kind of stoked to build those guys. I think that would be a really fun little painting project to kind of not have me paint Necrons. Because I've been doing that a lot.
It's
nice to have a break.
A nice difference from the purple and silver you throw down there.
For sure. And like these Death Guard leaks get me excited too.
Oh man, they're looking so good. Holy cow.
I'm very excited.
Hopefully pretty soon we get to talk more in detail about Death Guard.
No kidding.
But just kind of we're not really going to touch on the FAQs today, but some of the points dropped today. And man, do those points.
All the points did.
Yeah, for the new Death Guard stuff too. And man, does it have me excited. Like honestly, okay, we're not gonna go like super in depth into it, but the what's the terrain piece called?
Oh,
miasmic
shoot
engine thingy.
Yeah, the big the poop smoke furnace.
The poop smoke furnace. 75 points. And for what it does already, that is a steal. Max minus toughness in the center of the goddamn table, round 1.
I know.
For 75 points. That is amazing.
I hope it's kind of small.
Yeah.
So that it's easy to put on the table just in case there's like a ton of terrain. You know what I mean?
For sure. So I'm definitely like, now I'm like, well, do I need 2 of those to spread that out like across the entire table?
Well, here's the cool thing too, right? If you're gonna take a fortifications detachment anyway,
might as well take 2 or 3 of them, and especially 75 points.
Take a tree.
Oh hell yeah. Give myself some cover.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I'm really excited for Death Guard. I'm Lord of Virulence, who looks like he has a power fist and a dual flamer is 120 points, which is a steal for that kind of Terminator character. And then a lot of people sent me messages today being like, commiserations on your Blight Haulers. And I'm like, no, they were undercosted by way more than 40 points last time I played them. But it does mean the list I played against you, which made you rage a little bit, was now over points by 400. So,
oh man, dang.
Yeah. So good night, sweet prince done. To that. Yeah.
I'm excited to see what Poxwalkers do. Now that they're a lot cheap, they went down to 5 points. In a fearless 5-point unit, like even if it doesn't have just like real disgustingly resilient or a feel no pain or something like that, I think it's still super good.
I think people bitching about. I've seen some people bitching about it, like how they're
dumb.
But they're dumb because remember conscripts.
Right, exactly. Like, and just pushing up the center, even if it's just to shield your important units with Cloud of Flies, if that's still a stratagem,
right?
Like that kind of stuff is still very good. Yeah. So I like them a lot. I'm pretty happy. I saw also, sorry, and I don't want to like derail this too much about the fact, because we're gonna go a little bit more in depth on it than the next episode. But the Dark Angels got their points were in there from the new book, and they have the option to induct units. So either into the Deathwing or maybe the Raven Wing for some of the choices would be really interesting.
I'm going to induct Terminator characters into the Raven Wing just to really break the fluff.
I think you can induct. I think you can induct there's a Primaris Lieutenant option to induct into the I assume the Deathwing because it's the one with the Storm Shield. So it's like the Blade Guard veterans.
Maybe he surfs it Legolas style.
Yeah, maybe that'd be pretty cool. But they also have the option to give it to Dreadnoughts and Land Raiders and Storm Raven gunships. So it would be super cool to see what that all does, man. Because if they remove that infantry tag from the inner circle keyword and they give it out, or the inner circle rule, and give those like Space Marine vehicles transhuman physiology, more or less. That's gonna be pretty good,
man. I will bathe in salt tears for weeks. It's gonna be amazing.
And they got a new character option. There's like a Deathwing. It looks like maybe a Deathwing Lieutenant, kind of like the Ravenwing Talon Master.
You can never have enough Space Marine lieutenants.
No, of course not.
No,
but a Terminator Lieutenant, which is something that nobody has, which is very cool. I'm very excited. Oh, yes, I'm very excited overall. This fact is great. I need to stop talking about it though, or we'll just talk about it for the entire rest of the thing. I want some more time to look it over. So.
Yeah, let me jump into what I've been up to. I have a sound effect.
Tell us about your exploits.
I have a sound effect that kind of really sums up what I've been up to hobby wise. Very little. I feel like, and again, I think it's just like the holidays, like New Year's and Christmas and everything is really kind of eaten into my hobby time. That and a certain game set in 2077 has like taken like 30 hours of my life so far.
Yep.
Which, by the way, good on Xbox. I started playing it on my Series X, and then that got broken by my son. So I sent it away to be repaired by my save file. I went to my other Xbox, and now that my Series X is back and repaired, it went back to that again. So didn't skip a beat.
That's cool.
I'm like, super cool. I didn't lose any of my time. But anyway, Warhammer, what I did do is I finished Avenging Sun, finished listening to that with the original narrator because he was actually replaced. I got an email from Audible. They re-recorded the book with a different narrator after consumer feedback.
You did say that his voice sounded pretty weird.
It sounded weird, but okay. So like and this is the
but
weird.
You were into it.
halfway through, I got really into it. Gulliman sounds like just a twat, like the whole way through. But then there's a part where one of the new Primaris officers points out that, this guy is from 10,000 years ago. Language is different. He's going to sound weird. Could you imagine, like, if someone from Earth 10,000 years ago shows up today and talks in English? It's going to sound real weird. So when
it's
that
be a bizarre accent, yeah,
right. So when that came across, I understand that choice now, and I appreciate it. Now, I think honestly, like, they needed some way of pre-framing that at the start of the story, and not halfway through, because it was one of my big complaints. Like, I can see why people would stop listening, but when you understand that part, I really appreciate it. I haven't gone back. They got John Banks in, he's an amazing narrator for these books. So they brought out the big guns to redo it. So I'm glad I did my read through or listen through on the original one here. And like I said, it's a little sad it's gone, but I totally understand it. And honestly, good on them for like listening to their customer feedback and re-recording that, because that is a no small task. Also, the new one is about 2 hours shorter. So yeah, it really goes to show how it was narrated and talked. All the Space Marines just sounded like posh English people, in the old version, which I think was an issue as well. But honestly, super good book. I love where they're going with it. I think I said to Danny, my favorite thing is now, according to this Avenging Sun book, the Horus Heresy novels are canon as existing in Warhammer 40K. They're like the historical records of what happened, because the guy who was writing them, and he started writing like Horus Rising, he says, I took some artistic liberties to make it easier to read. And then he starts. Oh,
cool!
And then he started reading them, and it was like, I was there the day the Emperor slew Horus, and I'm like, motherfucker, did you just canonize your entire Black Library thing? And I thought that was just a really clever way of like tying it all in and together. So I was a big fan of them doing that. Also, the main bad guys in this was Khorne, which a bunch of Khorne demons. There's another Death Star style weapon, which I'm all about. But it's very satisfying, and I'm really interested to see where this series goes, because this was set up as being like another huge blockbuster event. Right. And then they kind of died out a little bit, went a little bit quiet. So we'll see where it goes. I'm excited for the future on it. It's an Ultramarines novel I'm excited about, so that in itself is like super unique.
That's bizarre, yeah.
But mainly, again, it comes from like the Inquisitor. There's some side characters. It rewrites, and this is, I think, why they're going back and rewriting Dark Imperium or adding things to like the Dark Imperium series, because it sort of redefines what happens when Primaris kind of first come out, because this book comes like right after Gulliman just butt fucks the High Lords and kind of reorganizes a little bit there.
Okay.
To write just as the Indominus Crusade launches. So you get cool. You get to be there when they unveil Primaris, and everyone's like, whoa, There's Primaris Alpha, who's a character from a previous book, I think a 30K novel.
No, he's from
Call, right?
Call book.
The Great Work.
Great Work. Yeah.
He is super good. He's not in it very much, but I love all of these little things. Like they're pulling him in from the Call book. They're pulling like the 30K novels into it. It's really satisfying seeing like everything kind of like they're breathing in like a giant inhale of knowledge and lore and getting ready to kind of like exhale new stuff. And I'm really excited to see where it goes next. I started Buried Dagger, getting back into 30K while I wait for the next Siege of Terror book. That's been super cool so far. And just kind of really getting ready for that Death Guard release. Because I got to tell you, we're not talking about FAQs. But like the drop today with the points really has re-energized me for Death Guard and just for 40K in general, because it was lulling a little the last couple of weeks. Oh, and I bought a resin printer. So I bought a 3D printer.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
So I'm excited to kind of play around with that. I made a joke. It looks just like a blender that you would see at Starbucks. It's like exactly the same shape and size. But instead it's liquid death. And when I opened it, my wife was like, why is there a mask and gloves in here? I'm like, oh, because the chemicals are very toxic. like, let's put this beside a window. But no, I'm excited to start playing with that. Mainly I looked at it to start for things like Blight Lord Terminators, and Havocs and things like that, where the kits are beautiful, but you get like one weapon option from each of those.
Sure.
So excited to find some third-party files to get some off-brand chain cannons and kind
Nice.
of light axes and things like. I mean, because that's mainly what I want to do with it, is just play around. Also, make some tokens, just dick around, make stuff like that.
Sure, yeah, like objective markers would be cool.
Yeah.
Or like even tokens for your army to remember stuff.
Wound markers. Yeah. So I'm excited to kind of play around with that and see how that goes. But yeah, that's really been all I've been up to. I'm expecting, like, next time we record, a lot more stuff, because I expect the Death Guard drips to keep coming. And yeah, and just keep on drilling Furies, I guess, which are now 1 point cheaper than Dark Eldar bikes, which is a thing. Danny, we're gonna take a quick break, but when we come back, we're gonna be joined, like I said, by our guest this episode, Colin from the Best in Faction podcast. And what better way to lead us in than a Best in Faction Coast Pairings app?
Dude, I'm the best. I took first place at another tournament.
First off, stop with the thunder and lightning. You don't impress me. And second, let me check out the BCP rankings. And I don't see you on there.
What?
Your TO needs to download the Best Coast Pairings app and run events on it. After the event, the results are uploaded into BCP rankings, and the best part, it's easy and free.
But I play multiple game systems.
No big deal. The BCP app can be used for any game. A ton of events every weekend are using it, from major international tournaments to local stores. And now that it's available on Android devices, you're going to have some serious competition.
There can be only one.
BCP Rankings is a fun and exciting way to measure how you or your team stack up. No matter what you play, your score goes to an overall ranking, or compete to be the best in a game, a circuit, a region, or the world.
Download the app or visit www.bestcoastpairings.com for more info.
Best Coast Pairings.
Are you the best?
Man, what an amazing segment / bit we just did. It was either really informative or very funny. And also whatever ad we chose to go on before this, amazing.
Just amazing.
Just the best. So our guest this week is 1/3 of the Best in Faction, a competitive Warhammer 40,000 podcast, as well as the organizer of Charity Hammer, a marathon 48-hour non-stop multi-stream wargaming event that's raised thousands of dollars for Child's Play. He's in a podcast guest-a-thon mode, going from show to show to show, and has finally lowered himself to mob rules. Colin Sherman, welcome.
Well, it's great to be here. This is lowering myself. This is like the show, right?
Well, we've tricked you again.
But speaking of dumb, so Colin, you have played 40K for a while. How did you get started?
Dumb, yes.
How did you get started with Warhammer? What was kind of your gateway into the hobby?
So I was 16 and I got a driver's license and decided that I did not like being at home. So I started spending every moment I could at this game store. It was about 20 minutes away. And the manager of that game store was Mr. Chuck Arnett, who I do the podcast with. And originally it was all about Magic the Gathering. I played Magic the Gathering very competitively, traveled all over the state. At that time, 16 through 20 wasn't a great time for me to jump on an airplane, but I drove all over the state and went to Oregon and played in tournaments all over the place and was really quite good is what I've chosen to remember. Was I good? I don't know. But my memory is that I was really good at it. And the store, all the people at the store would go in these cycles of what they're doing. And so there was Magic, and then we played that Jihad card game, and then we would play, and then suddenly we were playing Necromunda, and that was amazing. And then we were playing second edition Warhammer 40K, and that was amazing. And I started building a Dark Angels army. Which is funny, right? Because I don't play any Chaos armies other than that one. And
it's funny because they're terrible.
It was a terrible joke, and someone laughed anyways, and I appreciate that. So Dark Angels and then Imperial Guard. I still own my massive metal Valhalla Imperial Guard army from the 90s. But then I lost track. I went to college and I lost track with everybody. Chuck moved somewhere. Chuck had a kid. We lost track of each other. About 2016, I think it was the end of 2016. I took my kids to a game store and they thought Age of was cool. So I bought the Age of Sigmar box set. 40K had come out, and we put them all together, and I bought considering I never went to a tournament with them, I bought an offensive amount of Age of Sigmar. And just a stupid amount. And we painted so much of it. We've sold almost all of it now because I don't think I'll ever play Age of Sigmar again. It's a good game. I just like 40K better.
Sure.
Anyways, we're playing Age of Sigmar with the kids. Like, I'm playing it with them over and over again. And then 8th edition 40K came out. I played one game of it, and I'm like, oh my God. For me, the complexity of 40K was very appealing, but also I'm a robot and spaceships and lasers guy over dragons and swords. Like, I like dragons and swords fine, but I'm much more excited about spaceships and lasers. So 40K had me hooked, and I started playing and tried to find tournaments locally, and it turned out that the head of the local kind of best team in the state for 40K was my friend from childhood that I had not seen in forever. And there you go. Suddenly, I knew all of the competitive 40K players in the area, just like that.
Nice.
So when you came back in, what army kind of drew you? Like, what did you start doing, like, in 8th edition?
Well, I started off by trying to teach myself to paint because I didn't remember how. And I was painting Deathwing Terminators, and I started playing against Dark Angels. And I was like, wait a minute, these aren't good. So this weren't. At the beginning of 8th edition, they weren't any better than they were later in 8th edition. Anyway, so I started playing Guard, and I made a math hammer list. I didn't know that's what it was, but it was. I made spreadsheets, and I nerded out over it, and I took it to an RTT and went 2-1. The game that I lost was my first tournament game ever, and I put my army box on the table to deploy my army, and he was playing orcs. And when I picked up my army box, I realized I hadn't screened the entire side of my battlefield because my box was in the way of it. So I just deployed on like 3/4 of my deployment, and he came in behind me with a big unit of boys, and the game ended quickly. Anyways, then I won the next RTT I went to, and then I went to a major tournament with no idea. No, I didn't win the RTT. I went to the major tournament having only been to one RTT and gone 2-1. And I won that tournament and got onto the Legion, the 40K team I'm on now, and then went to SoCal Open and did well there. Don't remember how well, and it just kind of was off from there. I was like, hey, this is fun. Wife, do you want to go to San Diego with me so I can play 40K? She said, San Diego, you say? And suddenly we were eating tacos for every meal in San Diego, and I was playing 40K.
I gotta say, that makes it like really easy for me to sell it to my wife too. Like, if I want to travel for something, we're like, hey, I want to go to a tournament. She's like, well, no. I'm like, it's in Vegas. And she's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's great.
Yeah. You have to have the right wire. Your wife has to be wired the certain way though, because like my wife is completely fine spending the whole day by herself. I don't think that's for everyone. But like Stephanie will just like leave and be like, and she'll come back at lunchtime at the tournament and be like, how you doing? I'm like, what have you done? She's like, these 11 things. I'm like, okay, I played a game of 40K while you were like, okay.
That is 10 more things than I accomplished in that same time phrase.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I did this one thing. I have this new friend that I enjoyed this 3 hours with. I'll probably never see him again, but here he is.
So you've talked about you had a couple big wins in your second event. You kind of took the gold away there. What has been sort of your biggest loss at 40K so far? Or like a game where you're like, oh God, no.
Well, I've told the story a number of times on the show about my first big loss where I acted like an absolute ass. And regretted it forever, and I've apologized to the person like 3 times. So I did well easily. There was not a lot of work initially. It didn't stay that way. But at the beginning of 8th, I was able to win just by being good at math and kind of a quick learner. There wasn't any other skills I was doing, and I was winning a lot, and I won a bunch of stuff in a row. And then I went to this GT, and the Eldar Codex had come out, and I didn't know that the Eldar Codex basically crippled the Guard Codex. This is early 8th, right? So I've got the Guard Codex, and there's I think there's a few months where the craft rule codex doesn't exist yet, and in that time I'm wrecking people. And I go to this tournament, and there's this -3 to hit army of Eldar that just obliterated me. I didn't kill anything. It was awful. And I got salty and mad because I was God's gift to 40K. Like I had come from my mother's womb fully full, ready to defeat everyone at 40K forever. I was gonna beat Nick Malvati. It was gonna be fine. And I went to this tournament, and I just got my ass handed to me by this fantastic guy from Idaho, Matt Johansson. I'll use his name because he knows I tell the story all the time. And then I was just awful, and he wasn't happy because I was being such a dick, so he started being, and it was this awful experience. And the next time we played each other, we kind of just buried the hatchet, and we're friends now. But that was a eye-opening thing. Like, oh, you are not actually God's gift to this game. That's actually not who you are.
I think like early 8th like that as well, especially when the Eldar Codex came out, it was starting to become like a real rock, paper, scissors sort of like deal for like a lot of the armies that were coming out there.
Yeah, I think the Guard was overpowered at the time, and I just didn't know it because I didn't follow the game to that degree. But I think that having the book and having units of nothing was nerfed yet, right? So you had units of 30 conscripts with orders, and you had millions of plasma for way too few points. So I think I was winning in part because I had better rules than everybody else. But after that loss, I lost a lot. I wasn't ever like the 1-4 guy at a tournament, but I didn't win another tournament for months. Going to a lot, and I kind of had. That was when I actually. That actually is about when we started the show, and when I started my journey to actually putting the effort in to be good. Which there was a lot of effort, and it was very deliberate effort. But the initial wins were certainly not from practice and expertise.
So yeah, you mentioned a lot, like you had a lot of wins, and kind of you had like a little bit of a false sense of confidence kind of coming out of that there. And then you kind of went on this not losing streak, because obviously you're still like positive, but you're not kind of finishing like top 2, top 3 of the tournaments. What are you learning from those losses? Like, what are you kind of taking away from that helped you improve to where you got to?
Well, it's more meta than that. It's higher level than that. I didn't actually understand the game at the level that I play 40K in the most intellectual way possible. If you offer me 3 lists for a tournament, I want the one that is the most difficult to play. That's in general what I'm drawn to. But I didn't know that. And what caused that for me was moving from Guard to Tyranids. I moved to Tyranids, and I asked questions. I had Nick Nanavati helping me, and I asked questions like, I don't understand how a Shadow Sword doesn't just beat me. Like, I can't kill it. I'm never going to kill it. I can't charge it with Gene Stealers, and the Hive Guard aren't going to kill it, because my math was, how do I shoot this thing and kill it in one turn? Which isn't how Tyranids win. It is, I guess, at times, but not right now. And so he kind of helped me. He directed me to some battle reports of his friend playing Tyranids, this is the double Kraken Gene Stealer thing. And I loved it. And so I took it to practice night here in the area, and I just started playing it, and I just started winning with it. And it wasn't because the list was just better than everybody else. It was a really strong list, but it was hard to play. And I was able to use knowledge of the game, like movement and close combat. And so I kind of had to learn every nuance of you guys know, and a lot of your listeners do, like, a big part of 8th edition close combat was all of the free movement, all of the pile-ins and follow-ups and the especially with Gene Stealers, all of the shenanigans of wrapping things and running away and maneuvering around the table. And but I still couldn't win a tournament. I did win a couple things with Tyranids, but I wasn't winning like regularly with it. It was just, and I think it was just because it was hard and I was learning it. And so then I tried taking Double Spirit Ynnari to a tournament, which was literally that Tyranid list, only easy to play comparatively. And then that was when the winning started. When I put all of these reps in, and I combined that with, this is an S tier list. I think that the Guard lists I was playing when after the Eldar Codex came out were never S tier. I think it was like this thing happened where I had put all the time in to understand the nuance of the game, and then I got handed a thing that was just too good. Right, that was after it had only been nerfed a few times. It was still the best list in the game at that point when I got handed it, and then I won like I don't know something stupid like 6 GTs or majors in a row.
Wow.
And that was kind of like I went when I lost my first game at LVO with Double Spear Yanari. I had gone something like 28 for 29 with it in tournament play or something crazy like that. It was just like this sudden like, oh, my knowledge of the game is being paid off with this abusiveness of this list. And then I started, going back to normal when I left that list, and then I had to learn a different thing, and then I won some stuff with Eldar. So now it's like this cycling thing where sometimes I'm doing well and sometimes I'm just another guy, and it just depends on, where I'm at and what I'm learning and what I'm working on, right?
Sure. I'm super excited for it to be kind of like the thing where like Nick's giving you this advice and helping you with Tyranid lists, and you turn around like, you know what? You should really charge for this coaching thing. You're real good at it. And it's kind of like that's the genesis of like the paid coaching services.
All right, I'll be cocky and tell you the real story there. All right, this is a level of self promotion that I would not do on my own show.
Oh, I love it.
So I heard Nick interviewed on Chapter Tactics after my GT win, after my major win. So my 2 tournaments in before going to SoCal Open, and he was interviewed on Chapter Tactics, and he didn't say he wanted to be a coach. He didn't say anything about coaching. I looked him up on Facebook, and I saw that he was working as an analyst, like an analytics analyst. And I'm in the like Danny. I spent most of my career working with data, so I'm like, oh my god, I'll be friends with this guy. And so I like hunted him down, and I went to Nick, and I'm like, hey Nick, I see that you're really good at 40K and maybe a really analytical person based on where you live, and this is why I think we'll get along. I'd like to pay you for coaching. And he said, funny, one other person mentioned that to me this week as well. So me and some other mysterious person are the first 2 coaching clients.
I was going to say the beta coach. the beta coachee.
Yeah. Well, we actually did a thing where Chuck and I and our good friend Harrison, we flew Nick out before Nick's coaching service was really a big thing. We flew him to Seattle, having never met him, and spent the weekend with him, like basically just doing coaching reps over and over and over again with Nick. We paid him to come out, and we just played from morning to night for like 3 days, and then he went home. And what we didn't know is that Nick and I were making quite the friendship on that weekend. And we ended up doing Charity Hammer, which I know we'll talk about together. But it was there was a lot of immaturity there, right? He'd never gone to someone's house to coach them on something. I was 38 or whatever, and he was 23. There was that big difference. But to see that from that to now, Nick is learning, really fast how to be an excellent kind of leader of the community and coach. So that's been from the cheap seats. Actually, I guess from the VIP box. I don't know. I really enjoyed watching. I really enjoyed watching that transition, especially because Nick likes to play the same level of bullshit that I like to play in the game. He wants a million janky things he can do. He doesn't want to just shoot someone off the table.
Sure.
So it's fun for me to follow his lists and give them a try when relevant.
So you talked about reps and kind of playing with Nick and kind of like getting reps in against Nick there. What are some other kind of really good resources you've used over the years to help you improve at your game?
Well, I try to talk to Danny as much as possible.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Shit, that's what I was doing wrong. I don't want to talk to him.
So this is really a stupid answer, but it's true, and I'll explain why. I believe it's really important to start a podcast.
I have analytical data which says you're false.
Okay. Well, I mean, there has to be some amount of talent, John.
Okay. Thank Christ.
Okay. Yeah, practice. You can't just practice, right? There has to be something there originally. Okay. So that's the joke answer, but the real answer is related to that. Chuck and I both saw massive improvement in our game when we started doing the podcast. And the reason for that is we're talking through every game, which means we do the game and then we talk about it because we're at the tournament together probably. So we do the games, we talk them through, we go through together what we learned and what we need to do better. Was it a good win? Was it a bad, how did we act at the table? Like the whole thing. We talk about that whole thing. We're often roommates at these tournaments. And then then a week goes by and we get on the show and we remember the games because we talk through them, and we talk through the games and we explain what happened, and we learn a ton about what happened and what we need to do better. And you don't have to have a podcast to do that. That's the way we did it. Literally just to have a best friend, have a buddy you go to tournaments with, and just, go through the games and then wait a week and go through them again. Don't just go through them that day. Think back to them. Now, who went first? Would it have mattered if somebody else had gone first? What would I have done differently if I hadn't had first turn? Everybody wants to talk about 40K, right? Like that's why we're all here. That's a way to talk about 40K that's actually productive to getting better. There's another thing that we've changed because of COVID, about the way that we play, that I'm going to keep. It's kind of like there's a bunch of this COVID's terrible, but there's a bunch of things that COVID has caused that I don't want to have go away. Like, I love that people will bring me food and I don't have to talk to them or see them, that they'll just leave the food on the porch and like, I'll tip them. That's fine.
Oh, it's
but
great.
I don't need to be their friend.
I love the picture of food on my porch.
Yeah, I know. I don't want to be their friend. I don't want to know what's up with them. I don't want to see whether they're wearing their mask or not. Just leave the food and I'll come out in a minute. So one of the things we realized is we end up playing the list that we're trying to get reps with. So if I'm trying to win with Yunari, I want to play Yunari. And the problem we have is you end up with this niche thing that you're always practicing against. So because of COVID and streaming, we didn't just want to stream whatever I'm excited about into whatever Chuck's excited about every week over and over again, because it's boring. And we've been trying to stream once a week at least. So what we're doing is we're each working on a number of different things. Our collections are big enough that that's not a big hobby project. It's just, and we proxy a little bit here and there. Like I don't have my Dimacarons together yet, but I've played a bunch of Dimacarons. What we ended up being able to do is Chuck's trying to learn Silvertide, which is the Silent King, right? And a whole bunch of Necron warriors, a list built around it. Richard Sigler's kind of the original designer of it, to my knowledge. Anyways, Chuck's been playing that, but he's always been playing it into like Pyramids or White Scars or these fast-moving close combat armies. So I played Guard into him. I own Guard. I know how to play Guard. And we both got a ton out of that. I got a lot out of playing a different thing, and he got a lot, even though he's not most excited about Necrons, he learned a lot about the game, seeing that kind of blocking and tackling style basic game rather than the nuance of super fast close combat. So we're going to keep doing that, and we're also going to try to do some list trading. We play enough against each other that like he'll come over and he'll give me his sisters and I'll give him my White Scars, and we'll play the opposite sides of the match. I think there's stuff like that you can do. I will do that on stream for sure. I think there's stuff like that you can do that helps you with your basic understanding of the game. And people don't realize how important that is. Like stupid stuff, like remembering to do scramblers. It's easier to teach yourself to do that when you're also trying to learn a new army, believe it or not, because it's one more thing you're trying to remember to do, right? It's I don't know. I can't think of the words I've tried to use for that. It's just it mixes it up and helps you learn. That's all.
No, I was going to say one thing I appreciate about Danny is like whenever we have a game organized, like one of the first things he asks me is like, what do you want to play into?
I think there's a lot of value in kind of understanding the game from a broader thing. That's the other thing we didn't talk about, John, when you asked me about ways to get better. I think battle reports, easily the most important thing I've done. Other than just playing the game, watching battle reports and really paying attention to them and second guessing what people are doing. Thinking in your head, what would I have done differently there? Oh, he lost, but maybe he could have blah, blah, blah. Like that's how you learn there's knowing your rules. And then there's understanding how to win at 40K. Understanding how to win at 40K is what does our army do? What does my army do? How's the game going to play out? There's a lot to that you only get from experience. And one of the ways you can get experience is watching other people play.
Yeah, for sure. I find myself when I'm watching those battle reports, like I'm yelling at the TV, like almost like a football game, like you idiot, what are you doing? And so like I find that like, and then when it doesn't work out for them, I'm like, of course it didn't. That was a terrible move. So and I don't get that animated.
I want to watch 40K with Danny now.
Now I have to set up a video camera in Danny's house while he's watching a battle report.
Okay.
Just like a reaction
I'll try
video.
and put on pants then.
I would like you to be fully clothed.
No deal.
I would like you to be fully clothed. And I would like Fred to be in at least 20% of the footage. Those are my requests.
Okay.
What about
see what I can do.
not fully clothed, but like a very cleverly placed Fred?
I don't need that.
No one does. No one does, Colin.
I have to say, I'm going to derail us for a second.
Beautiful.
I have to say that I didn't, when I listened to your show, it did not hit me how much you're the Colin, John. You've got my job, and Danny is Chuck Mitch, kind of both of them. Kind of both of them.
So I like Danny because he laughs at my jokes. Bad or not, like I always get the and I'm like, perfect. That's the only validation I need.
Yes. I have entire friendships built on that. I have people that I don't even know that I would hang out with if they didn't think I was so damn funny.
You know who you are.
Yeah, exactly. Luckily, the main one I'm thinking of doesn't play 40K, so that's all right. No, it's neat because I kind of drive the conversation, and there's color commentary from Chuck and Mitch, so it's fun to watch you be Colin, and I get to be the guest, and I'm enjoying that.
Well,
and
good.
Of course, you're probably the hardest working and least popular member of the podcast because that's certainly my job.
Well, see, to be fair, I do work very hard at not being popular, by just being very bizarre. That's kind of how I get my kicks. Right.
Are we talking about Frasier? Are we talking about Frasier soon? Are we talking about Frasier later? Where in the
the rest of the interview will be Frasier based?
All Centaur questions, please.
No, I did join a Facebook group, which is just one gentleman who is making.
It's not a group.
Well, he's kind of like the pusher of it, but he's making a scale model replica of every set from Frasier. So he has Frasier's apartment right now that he's been working on for a few years, and then he has the cafe that they go to that he's working on right now. Over Christmas, he added a croissant. So yeah, it's
oh Lord.
Yeah, I find enjoyment in the weird things in life.
So you're rewatching Frasier.
Yes.
Are you enjoying it?
I have to say, so in Colin's Best Infection,
I loved it.
In Colin's Best Infection Discord, I've grown, like my gimmick is just being real weird. Well, that's not my gimmick, that's just who I am. But I started joking about Frasier because Danny and I had an in-joke where we would just replace actors in movies with Frasier and Niles from the TV show Frasier. And like we found it hilarious. So I started watching Frasier so I could like make the jokes, because my thing was, if someone challenges me on like Frasier knowledge, I want to surprise them by being really fluent in it. But it's a really tight show. Like, it's surprisingly good. It hasn't aged. The jokes are still really, really good. It's still like season 1 right now. So like the characters are less caricatures of themselves and kind of more kind of finding out who they are. But it's delightful. That's the best way I can describe it. It's just 20 minutes a night of like unassuming television where I don't have to worry about anything. And yeah,
that's great. I came prepared with my 2 favorite Frasier memories for you.
What are your 2 favorite Frasier memories?
Okay, they're both Niles related because Niles is the funniest person on the show. Yeah, and he's actually funny in everything. He's not in a ton of stuff, but when you see him in other things, he's very funny. So there's one where I can't remember the setup. There's something about Frasier accidentally hurts somebody and they're going to sue him, but they go to meet him at the coffee shop to try to talk him out of him. And when the guy gets riled against Niles, he touches Niles and Niles throws himself across the coffee shop, knocking over like every single table, and falls to the ground and whispers to Frasier, "Countersuit." And I remember that pretty clearly. I enjoy that very much. But my favorite one is Niles has to meet with a member of the criminal element to try to deal with $15,000 of parking tickets that his wife has. And he meets him, and he talks all in 1950s film noir code. we hear that things are hot, and you're just the kind of guy to put on the air conditioning. Like, just talks like that for the entire interaction. And then the guy leaves, and Niles says, "Oh my God, I'm so excited! I could feel my heart race. Oh, now it's gone. Oh, there it is again. Oh, now it's gone." And Frasier goes, "Oh, Niles, that's your cell phone."
So that's going to be my go-to whenever I go to a 40K table, and I'm like 1-0 tables like an RTT. I'd be like, "Hey, I see you're pretty hot right now in your game. Well, you can call me an air conditioner," and they're not going to understand it whatsoever. But I will giggle to myself about it.
Okay, I've successfully derailed the show. I feel better. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Continue with the questions now if you'd like.
No. So the last one about you specifically, I guess, before we move on to kind of the more exciting stuff here.
Okay.
So you've just touched down in Las Vegas.
I think I'm excited.
It was a beautiful, smooth flight in. You're getting ready to go to LVO 2022. Please God, let there be an LVO 2022.
COVID is not a thing, right?
You get a cab from the airport to your hotel. Which 340K players do you share that cab with?
I'm already going to see Chuck at the tournament. Chuck doesn't need to be there. The cab is myself with Richard Siegler, John Lennon, and Nick Nadavati, and here's why. I had an opportunity to go with those guys to the Canhammer team tournament with them, and we also had Andrew Gagno on our team.
Mm-hmm.
And spending the weekend with those guys getting ready to play tournament games is pretty exciting. There's a lot of energy to those guys. They've all been very successful. They all love the game. They all want to win. And there's an energy before they compete that is really a neat thing. And I'd love to have 15 minutes of that before the tournament.
Well, that's just energy leaching off of like the
yes,
popped collars.
I would like to take their energy. Yeah. I want to take their energy, and then I want them to fail. That's really what I want to suck. They're like what's the TV show? What We Do in the Shadows, where there's the energy vampire. I just want to absorb all their energy and have them all be like, and I'll just be like, guys, the funny thing about Vegas is that the taxi cab, it takes a longer time to get back. You see, because there's a circle. And circles are really good because of the trap. Then it's like, oh God, Colin, shut up. And then I take all their energy.
I have just this great image of you jumping out the cab all like refreshed and raring to go. And just the three of them just like despondently just slumping out of them. Just like, ugh.
Nick's asleep in the lap of the taxi driver. Yeah.
Well, that's already the positive energy. That's like round 4 Nick energy.
Oh, whoa.
You mentioned earlier you're the host of Best in Faction podcast. For those who aren't aware, what is Best in Faction?
It is a competitive 40K. I was going to make a joke about how much our name doesn't make sense anymore, but that's all right. No, Best in Faction podcast is a competitive 40K podcast that is about people that go to tournaments actively trying to improve. And we want to help everybody else improve as well. It is, when we started, there was nobody doing just competitive coverage, much at all. Everybody was doing a mixture of hobby and all the other stuff. And we found that when we listened to the shows, we didn't get a lot out of them because people weren't saying things like, oh, well, this list is really good against this list for these 3 reasons. And when you play this game, you have to remember this thing. Like, there wasn't people actually sharing the knowledge. And so Mitch kind of came to me and said, hey, I think we have a lot to say about 40K. I think it'd be really interesting. We should do this show. And Mitch actually said, I have a lot to say, but I will not be able to organize any of this. But you seem like someone who could organize everything. And I said, you had me at organize. I really do. I like planning Charity Hammer. It's a lot of work, but I like all this. I like the planning and the organizing and the building quite a lot. So originally it was going to be Mitch. At that time, Mitch was really good, and I was just a guy. And so the show was going to be. I was going to kind of have the question role, right? Like, oh, I don't understand how blah 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 works. But then life changes, and Mitch wasn't able to play in as many tournaments, and then had to take a break from them. And I started winning, and so the whole thing kind of our format just changed to, let's get Chuck on here, and then every time we go to a tournament, let's talk through our games. And
nice.
we were absolutely thrilled when Chapter Tactics referred to us as the podcast where you have to show your work. Because we try to have these people on that everyone's had on, like these people that win LVO or SoCal or whatever. We try to have them on, and we try to focus on why did you make your list this way? What did you do? What were you thinking in this game? Like, we try to make it as much about the strategy as we can. It's been a lot of fun. We're actually about to come up on our 3-year birthday. Yeah.
Nice.
Up on our 3rd anniversary here in about 2 months, I think.
That's awesome. So that first episode you guys recorded, what do you remember about that? Like, was everything going to plan? Kind of, was it what you expected it was going to be?
No. And well, the first thing I noticed is that if I didn't have a time that we had set to record that had an end time, we would not stop, because Mitch had a lot to say. And the initial episodes are Colin asking questions and trying to get Mitch talking, and then getting impatient when Mitch won't stop talking. He had a lot to say, and it was all interesting, but I'm impatient, and so I get to a point where I'm just like, I want to talk about the next thing now. So we had this weird dynamic where we would, and Stephanie would say, "Oh, you're going to record for 2 hours? Okay, I'll see you in 4." And I'd be like, "What?" And then and then we would just keep going and going. There was a couple times where we split the episode in 2 to release it because it was so much us talking. But the first episode is called "It Starts with a Storm." And begins with a storm. And the reason why is because the Storm of Silence at that time was the competitive major in our state. A bunch of the other ones that have now appeared are great. But at that time, that was the tournament, and we were going to go to it, and we were preparing for it. And I took 3 Tesseract vaults, which is an even worse list now than it was then. I learned today that they don't fit in Dawn of War. So it's like really bad. And also... No, and I didn't know that. I thought that they would fit, but like a bunch of the larger Forge World models and also the plastic Tesseract Vault, it doesn't fit in Dawn of War, which is a really bad penalty, really bad, because it also it's not 6 inches or smaller, so you can't outflank it effectively either. It's just yeah, anyways. So I took 3 Tesseract Vaults to that tournament, and it was a terrible experience. Just awful. I started playing Tyranids the next day, basically. And that was the start of the show.
I'll be able to deploy these in the deployment zone, like throwing your Tesseract Vaults in the corner.
Yeah. It was fun to make 3 Tesseract Vaults to build and my wife to paint them, but it was a gimmick list, and I didn't understand what gimmick lists were at that time, and it was just like, okay, well, I went 3 and 2, which is what this list was going to do. Let's go home.
Sure.
So what is your favorite episode so far? Because you said you guys have been doing it for like 3 years. What's your favorite episode so far?
Well, we've only had Danny on the one, so
so you only have one episode you can knock out of contention.
Wait a minute, that's not true. I've been on, just not with you a lot of times.
Yeah. The best is when your co-hosts start making content without you. That's also great. I mean it. Like,
don't hold your breath.
I got really busy, and Mitch would say things like, "I want to talk to Andrew Gagno for 3 hours about Guard," and I'm like, "Okay." And then he would do it, and I would edit it and put it up. Originally, I started listening to them, but I don't have that kind of time. So I said, like, I'm going to edit this. I'm going to zip through it to make sure the audio is okay. And if there's editing that it needs, or you guys go completely off the rails, you got to tell me, because I'm not going to catch it. We had an episode early on where Brandon Grant won LVO and the ITC. I guess that's not super early on, but it's 2 seasons ago now, 2 years ago now. And Brandon's very thoughtful and very intelligent. And he talked with us about 40K like you would talk about 40K as like if you were doing a master's class, like if you were in a class with all people that wanted to get a high level graduate degree in the subject. It was that kind of conversation. Like, everyone really got what everyone else was saying. And there was kind of this energy to it. And that episode came out, and we got like triple the downloads that we normally do, and just huge accolades from the people that listen to the show. And I just felt like, let's do more of that. I mean, we failed horribly. We've never done that again, but I really wanted to do that again.
I was like, you hear that, Danny? We could have 3 downloads if we have Brandon Grant on. So what's it like? So as a podcaster, like, people have like a lot of thoughts about you as a person, as a quote unquote public figure of 40K. What's the what's the most common assumption people have about you that is just completely wrong?
Especially early on, I had a reputation for being a dick at the table, and what it was that I'm a super anxious person and I didn't understand how to lose. And it's not that I didn't understand how to lose. I didn't understand how to win from losing. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't understand to keep composure enough while I think I'm spiraling out of control in order to pull the game out, which is a thing that happens if you don't give up and just start acting like a fool. Early on, I acted like a fool a lot, and I feel like that, at least locally, especially, that was a reputation. And then we started doing the show, and we really rubbed some people the wrong way. My personality in particular, there's a bunch of people that just actively dislike me on the show. And they had no problem writing in to tell us about it. They were often constructive, but they were still just basically saying, we don't like Colin. And I just, it's fine. It really is. I have kind of I would rather say too much rather than not enough. That's my personality. I want to be funny, and to be funny, there's a certain amount of vulnerability, and you're going to sound like a dick sometimes, and you're going to sound like a fool sometimes. Like, that explains, Danny, right? So there's a certain amount of just open awkwardness I also have sold software for 20 years, and a big part of how I sell software is I'm just open and nerdy and weird. It's just a big part of me. So I rub some people the wrong way, and I meet them at tournaments, and sometimes they say things like, I really thought you were going to be hard to play against, and it was great. And I think that's wonderful. I try not to focus on the I hated you to this moment part of that, and just focus on the now we're okay with each other. Yeah. I think that it's hard when you talk as much as I do, as much as we do online. And also I talk, I'm the majority of the talking on the show because I'm running it, because I'm keeping the agenda going and everything. And I think it's hard to do that job. People get jealous of your podcast success, which, like, when someone says, well, you're a celebrity, I'm like, no, I'm not. I am a Z-list personality on the internet for a niche game. That is for a game that the vast majority of the populace doesn't know exists. No, not an internet celebrity.
Is there a worse term in the world? Like, Danny, I know people come up to us, we're like, stop. Yeah, stop. No, it's just bad.
Yeah. You know what is flattering, though, and I'm sure you guys get this too, is when you're walking through LVO and people are like, hey, you must be Colin. I like your show. Like, that's awesome. I'm down with that because I'm really distinctive sounding. People come to me from far away to tell me that at LVO, and then I introduce them to Chuck, who they did not recognize because he does not have the volume and weird and strangeness of my voice.
Well, they just thought it was Danny.
That's right. I'm not getting too confused.
What's great is we had listeners smuggling us beer into LVO. That was kind of, I think, our highlight there. We're like, whoa, that's cool. Thanks, man.
We have very different listeners.
Oh yeah. The Venn diagram is just two circles at this point here. So what's
the three of us? Are the three of us the people that are in the middle of those circles?
Yeah, that's it.
If somebody was talking through their tournament games the way that we do, if someone was doing that when our podcast came out, power to you, we never found it. And now it seems really common course to kind of talk through turn by turn what happened in your game on a lot of different podcasts, and it's great, and I love it. And I strongly believe that if we weren't the people that kind of got that rolling, I think we helped popularize that. And I think that's great because it's, instead of being, how'd you do at the tournament? Well, I rolled like shit, which is what most of the podcasts were 3 or 4 years ago, to a bunch of different great podcasts talking about their games in really interesting ways. Like, I think that's a change that the tournament scene needed, and I love it. And if we had any part of that, and I am going to take all of the credit because this is three of us talking, then that's fantastic. But obviously the biggest thing that we've done is Charity Hammer.
So what is Charity Hammer?
Charity Hammer is a stream marathon of the best 40K players I know. And when I say best 40K players, I mean good at the game, and great people.
Danny.
I don't invite any. No, Danny's one of the people we invite because people think he's nice. I don't know if he is. That's just what people think.
Yeah, I have the opposite problem as you, Colin. Like, I have people like come, oh man, you're Danny. You must be really nice. And then after the game, they're like, you were such an ass.
That was one game last month.
Well, what was funny about Charity Hammer, and I'll finish explaining Charity Hammer in a second. But what was funny about Charity Hammer is that Danny came to it, and I knew you were good, but I had no idea how good you were, and you started beating big name people, and I'm like, go Alaska. Like, I had no idea what to expect. Just like, all I'd ever heard you do is trash your meta, and how you hate everyone in Alaska and how they're all terrible. That's what you said, right?
It's real fair.
I mean, no, our meta's great.
It's surprisingly robust.
I like a good robust meta.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what we do is we do a stream marathon. Started as one stream, quickly became two, now it's three. And we get everybody to my home, and we just play 40K nonstop for days. And we do it in a way that is as informative and helpful as we possibly can. We put people on every stream to make sure that everyone who's listening and watching can ask questions and knows where the lists are and understands what's happening. We make sure that the players are comfortable sharing their thoughts about, okay, well, here's what I'm going to do next. And then in the middle of it, we do what we call the hardest RTT around, because it's a seeded single elimination tournament with, so the last Charity Hammer, shortly after Charity Hammer, the LVO was won. First, second, fourth, and like sixth from LVO were all people from that RTT. And the reason we do it is to raise money for Child's Play, which is toys and games and things for children's hospitals. And we do that because we have a strong connection to that. That is a story I've told a bunch of times. But basically, sick kids suck is the summary. I don't want to tell the story for the 15th time. And so we do this big streaming event, and over 2 years, we raised $35,000.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really a magical thing for me. I've never done anything that cool. It really is amazing how much people want to get involved and how open people are to it and how open they are to coming and share and being on stream a lot. Like, I think the first time we did it, John Lennon played 12 games in 3 days or something crazy. All on stream, just like a machine, just going through the reps. That's Charity Hammer, and we will be doing Charity Hammer once I can safely have my friends travel to me. So sometime later this year, we will be doing Charity Hammer, and we have invited Danny again, who I know Danny's year might be complicated, so we'll see. But we invited Danny, and we'll have another 30 or so people, and we'll do it all over again and raise more money for the children's, because the children should not be unhappy while they're sick.
No, that sucks. But you're kind of expanding this year because kind of COVID's kind of making you adapt. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we were going to push off Charity Hammer, and we have a good friend, Chuck's best friend for life, basically. The guy that you've known since high school, that you always stay in touch with. That's these guys, Vince and Chuck. And Vince is a longtime member of the Pacific Northwest Warhammer community. He's one of the people that taught me to play when I was 16 years old. And Vince has what we'll just call super serious cancer. It's really quite bad. And unfortunately, as you guys know, our healthcare system makes the punishment for getting cancer financial wreckage for your family. That's just kind of part of the deal. So we have this friend who's very, very sick and we can't spend time with. And at the same time, also in setting his family up for some really unfortunate financial times. And it's just money. It's not what's important, right? They don't need the added stress of that. So what's important is the time that they have with him, not worrying about what things are going to be like after he's gone someday. So we wanted to do something for that. And it was really important to us. So Chuck and I started talking about what we could do, and I talked with, I think at this point it's 5 medical professionals about COVID. Basically, I'm a little bit over the top. I don't want to do anything that is reckless or involving COVID of any kind. So so I talked to all these doctors, and I came up with this plan that's basically, we're going to do a marathon stream. We're going to do it for 2 days. We're going to do 2 streams a bunch of the time, but mostly 1 stream the whole time. And we're going to use all local people, the best people I can get locally. And we've had their lists helped by Art of War to make sure they're playing the most competitive stuff that they can play, and that they know how to play it, and that it's going to be played at a high level. These are all good. These are all, for the most part, these are all GT winning people anyways. So it's not like they're just some guy that we gave a Necron list to or whatever. And so we're going to do this stream, and we're going to raise money, like we do Charity Hammer. And we're going to raise money for 2 things: for Vince's family, and also Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research, which is the organization that has helped my mom and my dad, between the 2 of them, 4 times.
Awesome.
So because cancer's stupid. Sick kids bad, cancer bad. These are Colin's hot takes.
Dude, I love your taglines for these. They're great.
Yeah, cancer bad. So Hammer Out Cancer is the name of the event, and we'll be doing an RTT into it. We've made this RT double elimination just basically to make it more fun. So on the 4th round, the undefeated person will play whoever's won the losers bracket. I think that gives somebody a chance for redemption, which is kind of fun. So we'll do that. We're also going to add commentating. That is really a trial run for Charity Hammer. So all the people that are Charity Hammer alums that can't come, Nick and John and Siegler and Danny and Adam from Australia and Darren from Canhammer, the Falcon, of course, all those guys are going to do commentating for our RTT games. We figured out a way to do it in real time where you'll be able to hear us playing the game, so you can kind of follow what's happening. And you'll also hear the commentators talking about the game at a high level and telling us all the things we're doing wrong, but of course we won't be able to hear them. We're going to give out a ton of raffle prizes. The big raffle at the end is for a beautifully commissioned painted Necron army. And along the way, there will be many other raffle prizes of unopened 40K product. We'll also be doing a bracket challenge for predicting the RTT. That wins you an unopened new in-box night. So lots of swag to give away. And the way that you get that swag is you donate. Every $30 you donate is a raffle ticket. I basically keep a giant spreadsheet. Once you've won, you can't win again. And then we ship you your thing. We've given away thousands of dollars of product over the years at this point. I've learned how awful it is to ship all of these things, but I still do it. So that's what we're doing. And we're doing it following a very, very extensive list of precautions that I'm going to write up and post for those that are if you're worried or you're wondering or you're curious what I think an actual tournament would have to look like right now to be a good idea. This is what I think, and you won't want to do a tournament by these rules.
Well, definitely to help out and kind of set his family up there, and that's just some amazing stuff you're doing, Colin. Especially
kidding.
So charityhammer.com. Just want to make sure I say charityhammer.com is where you'll the agenda, links to the streams, the PayPal link. It also will link you to a Facebook page where you can say you're interested, and then you'll have real-time updates of what's happening at the event.
Charityhammer.
That was the thing I always forget to say. .com.
Wonderful.
.com.
We've kept you a long time here, but I know Danny has some amazing hot takes that he wants to share with you.
Oh, I'm
good.
good.
Have to do those. That's fine.
No.
I don't want to keep calling any longer.
No.
Right.
No, I'm good.
They're short hot takes though, and this proves to me that you worked on it. I'm kidding.
That you actually did something.
I feel like Danny hasn't spoken at all, and I would like to hear him talk.
No, absolutely, and that's one of the things is like it's been me talking this whole time, which no one likes. So yeah, Danny, absolutely.
False.
Throw some hot takes in there while I step away from the microphone for like 2 seconds.
All right, we're going to start with something that's a little bit outside of the game. What are the best kinds of beans? What is the best kind of beans?
Is this your hot take, or you want to get my hot take?
Yeah, I want to know what do you think is the best kind of beans? I think kidney beans are the best kind of beans.
I don't really like beans that much. I think that they're all kind of fun.
So
I know
that's
that's
my
not in the
mind
spirit
being
of the hot
blown.
take. I understand that that's not in the spirit of the hot take. But yeah, well, peanuts are technically a bean. I like peanuts.
Okay, that's a good
Oh.
answer. Peanut
Wait.
is a great answer. That's way better than mine. I thought kidney beans because they have a stronger flavor than most other beans. I feel like, but
Peanuts
yeah,
turn into peanuts turn into peanut butter, and I have
yeah.
I have strong feelings about peanut butter.
The rest
So-
of these
Butter is-
questions, the rest of these hot takes will be bean based.
Okay, can we talk
Fred
about
really
peanut
also
butter?
likes peanut butter, so he has a
I
strong
bet he
opinion
does.
on peanuts too. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is-
Okay. So as far as like you, so I think and this is something that came up earlier in the Biff Pod Discord, which is great, and you guys should definitely join it. It's definitely worth your $5 a month. Should the game be balanced for the top best players or the middle of the pack? What do you think about that? I think for me, I think it should be balanced for the middle of the pack because that's the majority of people. But
It has to be. It has to be balanced for the middle of the pack. It has to be. If you balance it for the top, so we've seen this a lot. It was not hard. If you would tell VO, so at the end of the reign of Yunari, okay, I played Yunari at LVO, at the LVO where Brandon Grant won with guard. So 2 LVOs ago.
Yeah.
And that was the end of Yunari. The rules were destroyed shortly thereafter. At that tournament, you could win every game against an average player with Yunari, and they had no idea what to do. Beat them. But 30 people in the ITC who were like all there, any one of them would dismantle you. The issue with Yunari wasn't that it was unbeatable. The issue with Yunari is that it took a incredible level of veteran player to defeat it. That means that's not balanced at the top level. That means it is balanced at the top level, but it's not balanced in the middle of the pack. The end result is that you end up with this list that everyone feels terrible about. The Castellan list was the same thing. It wasn't unbeatable. Right. It just was terrible for everyone in the middle of the game. So they have to do it that way. The problem is you don't want a list that in the right hands can't be beaten.
Right.
And
exactly.
I actually think we're there right now. I know there aren't a lot of tournaments in the States for us to look at the results from, but through the games I'm playing and the people I'm talking to, I think the White Scars list that John Lennon and I are playing, if there was a tournament right now, there'd have to be a decent skill gap. You'd have to be decently better than me to beat me. Is how I feel about it. Now I'm about to play it in an RTT against my friends in a week and a half, so I'll lose all those games and look like an ass. But my general opinion is I think we have a problem right now where there's a list that would take an incredible level of veteranship to beat, and you can't have that. You just can't have that.
Yeah, and that's definitely a list that rewards like really good player skill. White Scars does for sure.
Well, all the things that I've done best with the Tyranids and the Yunari and the GSC and now the White Scars and the Tyranids again, which is actually what I want to play at a tournament right now. If there was a tournament tomorrow, I would actually not play White Scars and play Tyranids because I have more fun.
Because familiarity, or
I actually think that the Tyranid thing I'm doing beats White Scars. So We'll find that out at the RTT. I think that Alex McDougall and I have accidentally made a thing that counters Marines really well. Nice. And we weren't intending to counter Marines, but my Tyranid list with the Damacarons and Swarmlord and stuff, it's big monsters and medium guys and little Gribblies, and it's everything I want to play with, and it plays so fun. It's so much fun. White Scars are fun too, but the Tyranids are really fun. Anyways, we've gotten off topic.
I'm glad to hear. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say my hot take is I agree with you.
Okay. Cool.
Middle of the pack, yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you're going back to.
My hot take is that Forge World Tyranid models are broken powerful, and without them, the army is trash. That's my hot take.
Just Demacarons or also the Hybriduals?
Everything in that book, all of the Forge World stuff is good except like one thing.
Yeah. I pretty much agree with that.
I did order the dragon.
Well,
Forge World will eventually someday ship me the dragon, and I am going to take it to a tournament. The Haradon or Horadon. Every time I say it, it sounds like Hardon, so I'm trying really carefully to pronounce it differently than that.
Well, it gives you one because it's amazing.
I don't want people to think I'm putting a 16-inch by 16-inch erection on the table.
Oh, they know.
Seems like something that-
Well,
not the square erection. That's not good. Sorry, Danny. What's your next?
That's called the brick.
What's your next hot take? Yeah, it's called the brick.
Well, that kind of leads me to my next question. So, statistics in 40K, how important are they to determine what your kind of list you're going to take to an event? And by statistics, I mean like 40K stats, like army rankings. Does that change what you're actually going to bring to an event?
Man, that Falcon guy is worthless. No, I'm kidding. 40K. Okay. Personally, don't use his stats for that at all.
Yeah.
For what I'm going to take to an event, even a little bit. I do think the stats are super important for understanding the meta. Who's
And the
playing
health of the
what?
game.
How common is it, and what is winning? Well, that's the way I do use it. I do use it for thinking through what I'm gonna do against the armies that are winning the most. I do use it for that, to kind of give me a reality check on what's actually good right now. But I wouldn't use it for what I'm going to play, because it doesn't. Player skill is a thing. Like there's a lot of bad orc players. There's a lot of bad Tyranid players. That doesn't mean orcs and Tyranids are bad. That just means that there's a lot of people playing them that are hobbyists more than they're competitive gamers, and that's fine. But like, how many orc armies have you played against where everything's kipash and gorgeous and amazing, and you trash them in the game, right? Like, there's lots of people like that, especially for things like orcs, especially for Space Marines. Sure. There's tons of people that have gorgeous Space Marine armies where every single model is named, and I think more power to them. Great, good on them. But they are not good at the game, and they are not going to beat me, and their numbers in the win-loss do not help me. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I definitely look at it as well in like kind of in the sense that I'm looking at what armies are going to be the most popular, and then trying to decide like what things I need to look out for and what kind of matchups I'm gonna have to face if I'm playing in a big event. So yeah, like basically the same as you. Cool. I'm glad our hot takes are very similar. That makes this easy. What do you think is the most prevalent positive character trait in 40K players?
It's not hygiene.
Well, okay. Well, I also have negative here, so we can get to that. I'll just cross that one off right now.
I have played several people that smell bad, and that is unacceptable. If you cannot figure out how to smell good for a tournament, you do not need to be there. I will still be nice to you, but I am judging you so fucking hard in my head the whole time. Like, who are you? Can you not afford deodorant? Should I help you? Should I give you my deodorant? Like, what? How is this? How is this relationship going to go from here? Am I going to, do I need to pay for you to have a hotel room? Are you homeless? Did you sleep in your car? Why do you smell like urine? Like, I just, okay.
Well, now I know in Vegas, instead of like paying for a hotel room, I'm just going to go up to Colin without deodorant.
Well, now I just feel attacked. I can't help that I'm incontinent.
Oh, man. I told you that I was Stephanie and I were talking about Danny today, but Stephanie doesn't know Danny's name. She's bad with names, so she uses nicknames for like everyone, and she calls Danny Not Chuck through a story that I'm sure you guys have told previously.
Yeah,
and I told her that I stopped calling you Not Chuck, and I've been calling you Often Moist, and she got mad at me. She did not think that was an acceptable thing for me to call my friend. And I said, but I came up with it, and he said it was accurate. So there you go.
You know, when Danny pulls out the sweatbands, the game is on, and he's like really trying. And like, that's not even a metaphor. It's not even a metaphor. Like, when I look over to the table and he has his John Cena like headband and wristbands, I'm like, shit, this game is going intense for him.
I too think of John Cena when I look at Danny.
The resemblance is uncanny.
You're exactly. Just much. You look like him as much as you look like Chuck. So I do have one. I think the 40K community in general is incredibly welcoming and kind. People are awkward because there's a lot of nerds and there's a lot of software engineers that don't spend a lot of time talking to people. That's fine. That's basically my entire friend group. That's not judging. But when I started playing again, I would go to the local Games Workshop store, and I built a strong enough friendship with the manager that he was at my wedding. And I met many friends there that are now on my 40K team and I travel to tournaments with. And I could come in and I could say, I'd be playing Necrons. I'd be like, I need a Catacomb Command Barge, or no, something that's a dual kit. I need blah, 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 and I don't know what kit it is. And someone would, not even the manager, somebody would get up and walk over who doesn't know me, and they'd be like, this guy, this builds this, or this. So if you want this, it's this one. Like, and then I'd be like, and then I want to kit bash it, and I need bits that are kind of like this. Oh, if you looked at the Age of Sigmar, blah, blah, blah. And these are just like strangers at a store. And I think that's really common in 40K. I think everybody wants the game to be successful, and everybody wants everybody to play it, and everybody wants all of their friends to spend all of their money on it, right? Like, we're all enabling each other so hard all the time. Yeah, buy this. Yes, buy that. Yeah, you need this. You should get this. This would be really, like, it's all very encouraging in my experience, is what I would say.
Yeah, and that's probably a better answer than mine. I was going to say inclusiveness, like we're like usually pretty good about making sure that people feel welcome, although some parts of our community are less like that, and they can just fuck off and die. But like, I
would agree with you, except that it's really sexist.
Oh yeah, no, and I agree with that. Like, I was going to say, like, but for people who are starting the game, I think that there's, like, especially people who are having problems, like, our community is really great at helping. Which is something that I really like about our community.
Yeah, for sure. And I just stumbled upon my better answer for the worst part of the community.
Yeah.
Well, because the reality is there are not a lot of women playing the game, and I don't believe it's because it's an inherently male game. I think it's because of how people treat the women in the game. I really do. Like, and I'm gonna soapbox for a second because it's not my show and I feel comfortable doing so. There's a public. I'm not going to use any names here because I don't want to make this story even more. But there's a member of the community who's fairly public, and a stream was being hosted on his computer, and a message came in from someone that he was seeing, and it had a nickname for her that was not probably a nickname that he wanted her to know about. And that's dumb and everything. Yeah. But people found her, because that person only had one friend on their Facebook with that person's name. People found that person and messaged and harassed her. And that is so over the top unacceptable that I was so mad I had to avoid. I couldn't talk on Discord for a day because people were making fun of that picture, and I just couldn't handle it. It's just, and there's a lot of boys club stuff that's very, like, you know, if we roll, it's like rolling the 1950s, calling everybody a dame and a broad, and this is a men's. It's stupid. Anyways, I don't know how to make it more inclusive for that, but that's the biggest problem the community has, in my opinion.
Just to jump onto that as well, in that kind of like specific situation, please. It's like the internet has given everyone this level of comfort that is not okay. And then the way that they talk to you, and then this person made a mistake and this thing happened. That is in no way the girl's fault whatsoever. So give the guy shit and kind of like really write him on it, but don't dox the person. That's just an asshole thing to do. And like I said, the internet and the way these communities have set themselves up, because you have like your different little internet camps, has given everyone like a sense of confidence, like a false sense of confidence that they really shouldn't have. And there's a lot of players who need to really examine their social skills, because what they think is okay really isn't.
It's internet tough guy syndrome, right?
Oh yeah. I had an internet tournament game where the game next to me was one of the 5 women at this tournament, and her opponent was just being terrible to her, and then I played him next, and I thought, Jesus, this is going to be terrible, and he was lovely to me, and so I kind of baited him into talking about his previous game, and he's like, well, that's stupid, and he used all these like super awful feminine, like trashing women words. And it's just like, would you talk like this about a man? Because I don't think you would. It's just gross. So I don't know. We need to be more inclusive. If you see a woman in the hobby, please be nice to her. Like, please treat her like she is a human being with equal rights to you, because it's 2021. Don't be stupid. Don't be a dick. That's my hot take.
Man.
Yeah, no disagreement from either of us for sure.
It's a real snappy tagline as well. Don't be a dick. 2021.
Yeah, don't be a dick.
That's from Penny Arcade. The guys who do charity or do Child's Play that we donate to, that we do Charity Hammer with. They had a comic a million years ago that said, "And remember our internet rule: don't be a dick." Like and like they have shirts that say "don't be a dick" that people used to wear. Yeah, because you should just don't be a dick. Just don't do it. No one needs that.
Yeah, hard agree.
I'm hoping that there are more hot takes, so we'll get me this excited.
Oh yeah, no, I got some more.
Okay.
All right. So, what's the best 40K podcast out there? What should people be listening to?
Other than us and you, because that's
right. Of course. I mean, that's obvious. Right.
I like Art of War. Well, actually, I like 40K Stat Center. It's on hiatus, but 40K Stat Center is my favorite. But Art of War is my other favorite. I think that they do an excellent job breaking down the game at an incredibly high level, at really like talking through why things work and how things are happening. And there's lots to learn from that. I really dig that show. What's your other favorite other than us?
Oh, Art of War. Jean Demaris does such a good job of like really just, well, he does a good job of looking like he doesn't know what's going on, but then actually like expounding on these ideas. Like, it's amazing for me to listen to that. And then having talked to John, like, yeah, he's really good. Like,
yeah, he does. He's doing a character that's super helpful.
Yeah. And
that character that John Demaris is doing is who I was supposed to be on the show originally on BiffPod, because I didn't know, because I wasn't going to be that character. That was me. That was who I was. Like, I didn't know anything. I was just going to ask a bunch of questions and have Mitch educate me.
How dare you have skill?
Well, talent and luck is really helpful too. But yes, skill, sure.
True. All those are useful.
Yeah, they're all good. The Art of War podcasts are great. And when I started playing again, I really listened for a long time to the independent characters.
Oh yeah.
That's not a competitive podcast at all, but man, do those guys love themselves some 40K. And they'll spend 3 hours talking about the background of Dark Angels or whatever, and save me the time of having to read a million books. And I appreciate that, because I like the lore. I don't have time to read a bunch of Black Library, but I dig the lore. I've always liked it. I think it's interesting. I want to know everything that's happening. I just don't have the attention span to read every Black Library book like many of you do.
Yeah, I think when I want to get really hyped about something, like, I'll listen to an independent characters about it. Because like you said, like they're like Forge World book reviews is what really drew me into podcasts in the first place. And it's fallen off a little bit, but it's still a great place to go for kind of like getting excited about lore.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They're like the biggest 40K podcast like ever, right?
By far.
That's probably true.
They're on hiatus right now, but they're still amazing.
Yeah, I really like
them. What's the main guy's name? I really like him. I reached out to him, and he was really kind to me.
Carl Tuttle.
Yeah,
Carl Tuttle. That's right. I reached out to him early in my 40K before I knew anyone, and I was like, oh my god, he responded. It was like this big deal to me. I don't remember what I asked him, but it was something. Yeah, I've talked to him online a few times. He's very, very kind. Great guy. Anywho.
Okay. And I like I was just gonna mention, if you're really fiending for the Falcon and Val, you can always listen to them on the 40K adjacent show on the Honest Wargamer. And I because I love their just their flow. Like, they are so, their banter is very good, and so it helps me to get through the fact that I don't get to listen to 40K Stat Center anymore, or for the time being, or much.
Yeah. That show's really funny too.
It's really good. All right, last question, Colin. What is your favorite unit in the entire game and why?
It used to be Shining Spears,
Okay.
but I don't think they're fast ones out of the. You've seen them, but it's for the people that haven't seen them. We made them out of the Eel Riders from Age of Sigmar, and they're my favorite 40K project that we've done. So I did all these tournaments with these like this labor of love, where my wife and I built these special Shining Spears for me. We used a heat gun to bend their tails to make sure they were the right size, so that I wasn't modeling for advantage. They used to be that, but they're not as fun anymore. So here's the combination of model, rules, and lore. Okay. Swarmlord.
Okay.
Swarmlord is a badass mofo. He is his rule. First of all, his inherent ability makes the game 10 times more interesting. Like his special ability is the biggest modifier to how interesting your list is over pretty much any model. I'm sure there's other examples of this. I just haven't thought of them. But like being able to double move things in an army that's as fast as Tyranids opens up a ton of lists. And then in addition to that, he's a really cool model that I love. And he's one of my wife's favorite, or one of my favorite paint jobs of my wives. I couldn't make that sentence work. And in addition to all of that, he's got good psychic powers. And most importantly than any of that, he likes to beat on things. And he's really good at it. And for most of the time I've been playing 40K, none of the big monsters were good. Like you would never played with a Bloodthirster, or in 8th edition 9th, which is all the playing I've really done competitively. You never play against Bloodthirsters. Like only losers would play with Bloodthirsters, right, John?
That's absolutely right. Well, only losers would play with 1. Winners would play with 7, which I think is the maximum I think we theory crafted you can take.
And there's different kinds, so you can get around the rule of 3. Is that the deal?
Yeah. The list is terrible. Danny and I theoried it out on the table, and I got depressed after 1 dice roll.
Yeah, that's right.
One Bloodthirster at full bracket killed the majority of 1 intercessor squad.
5-man intercessor squad.
So the thing is, right? Nobody was playing with Bloodthirsters. Nobody was playing with any of the big Tyranid monsters, the Trigon or any of the stuff that's bigger than Swarmlord, right?
Right.
And then, but because of the way the list worked, he could hide like a scared little girl. Now, see, that's sexist. I shouldn't say that. All children get scared. He could have been any
little
gender.
Man.
There you go. He's a little boy that's scared. And he hides early in the game. And then late in the game, once many of the threats to him are gone, he parades around the table going on adventures and smashing things. I've had him kill a Castellan in combat. I've had him kill... I've had him be in combat with 3 different Smash captains and just keep rolling his 3-up invols and slowly kill them. That was at Nova, where he got charged by 3 Smash captains on the same turn, and it took him 2 battle rounds to be done with the fight, but he did not die.
That's awesome.
Because he was like, well, sometimes you just make 3-ups. So, no, so I love Swarmlord's rules. I love how he looks. I don't care that he's like 300 points. Don't care. Love him.
I would pay good money. I was going to say I would pay good money to see the face of your opponent as you keep on making your invulnerable saves.
Yeah. Luckily, I won that game handily, so it wasn't like the rest of the game wasn't him saying, and that. Sometimes dice are hot. It's a thing.
Yep. Can't fight the dice, man.
So I want to hear your guys' answers to this. Yeah, I'm super curious.
All right. So for me, my favorite model in the game is Eldrad. Eldrad is my very favorite character in the fluff. And on the table, I wish he were a little bit more representative of how good of a psyker he is. But he's acceptable. And I wish that he used to give out Phantasm for free, basically. Like that was his deal in older rules. And I really like that part of him. So I miss Eldrad is my very favorite character in the game.
And now, if you had said, what's your favorite Eldar model to play with, I probably would have said Eldrad. I played with him in all that double Spirianari. I had him. and because the +1 to cast was really strong in that list.
No kidding.
The consecutive casting. But I liked him so much that I started calling him the original Pimp Daddy on the table. And my wife heard that, and she took my Eldrad and she glittered his staff. So my Eldrad is the original Pimp Daddy and does have a glittery Pimp Cane that he will hit you with.
Nice.
But sadly, I've not gotten to play with him recently because
my regular
a number of
used to
reasons.
call him El Jerk because they hated him so much.
He's also he's like one of the only elves that's on foot, but T4. He's just like, no, I'm tough. Leave me alone.
He's part crystal.
He's T4.
He's
Yeah, he
mostly
is T4.
crystal.
Oh,
at
is that
this
what
point.
the deal is?
Yeah, he's so old that he started to turn into crystal like Farseers do.
Oh, okay. I do like myself some Eldorad. John, what's your answer?
Okay, so if we're going for Eldar models, because I have two answers for this.
No. Any army.
So my favorite model of all time is the Democaren. I love that model so much. I think it really came.
We're making our own.
So I think it
We're
came from.
making our own because my wife hates that model.
So I think I love it because it was like for me, I attach memories to things and kind of like I place value in that. So it was like the first model I put together where I really got Forge World. So like I got like the washing part down, the assembly part down. And then it was the first model I got where I have like 7,000 points of Tyranids painted somewhere. But it was like the first model I painted where
Who knows where
I have like I got the color scheme down and it looked good and I was happy with how it looked. And it just has so many cool little details, like the chest is open to kind of pull the dude in. Like the claws are giant. The model is like very imposing and very intimidating. So I took like all this time to paint up the two I have, and they look amazing. And I put them on a tabletop, and of course they're 80 feet tall, so they instantly died. But it's a beautiful model, and they did just such a good job on it there. And then just to share my Eldar love, because I also have thousands of points of Eldar. I think Azerman, for the time he was sculpted. His posing and his detail is just so indicative of his character, and I love that model just so much.
I really like the Shadow Sword. Like if we're just talking model, I played double Shadow Sword at an LVO, and there's a World War II history nerd in me that just loves how Guard has done. Like I like the Lehman Russell lot too, like just how Guard did. How they did the tanks for Astra Militarum is just great. And when I put together, I got a Shadow Sword for Christmas years ago, and I sat while the kids were playing with their toys. I sat and assembled it, and it was like, I was so tired of putting models together, but like the inside of me is like, this is a tank. Tanks are great. This is a huge tank. Look at this fucking huge tank tread. Look at this. And Stephanie was there, and I'm like, look at this big giant tank tread. She's like, okay. So yeah, there you go. Memory attached.
Beautiful.
I have two of them, and annoyingly, they show our education in painting. One of them looks much better than the other one.
Well, yeah, that's the way it goes.
So that would be the other model if we're just going off just the model and not its rules. I don't think they're good right now. I just like the model.
See, I'm lucky where the Democaren is good right now, but when I was playing it, it was terrible.
I like the Go ahead.
I haven't lost at the Demacarons yet.
Nice.
Yeah.
John, are you talking about the one that you painted like the Indominus Rex?
No, that was the one I painted for my buddy Josh. I'm painted like I have one in my purple and white scheme too. But like that one turned out amazing. Like my buddy wanted me to paint it for him, so I painted it up, and he wanted it like monotone, just like blacks and grays and whites, and I added like a bunch of flesh like in there. But I think it turned out like super cool.
It did look good.
I own that now because he was selling it. I'm like, I want that model back.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that you had it. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I do. Like when I heard he was selling his NIDs, I'm like, no, I really like that model. Give it back to me.
I think I'm either an Eldar player at heart or a Tyranid player at heart. I go back and forth, but I've played a lot of other armies at this point, and my love for them is just much stronger. The models and the way they play and all of it. And specific, I own a lot of Dracarian stuff, but that stuff it's never grabbed me in the same way. That's the model line in general. I don't really. The Harlequins are fun, but I don't really like their models as much as I like the Craft World stuff either.
Sure.
Yeah. If you had to pick, the reason I brought that up is I was curious. Like you're like me. You own a bunch of different. Feel at heart. Like if any one thing could be good and you could play it for the next year, like what's the most exciting faction for you to play? Like what do you love?
Oh man, that's hard for me to say. I mean, honestly, so God, I really like Craft World Eldar, but I like I really like Wraith units. So like I have a lot of Wraith cards, and I really wish that they were good.
Me too.
Yeah. So Wraith Lords are good now, which is they're decent. I'm really glad that they were
better at the end of 8th.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking forward to them going to 9 wounds and not bracketing. That's going to be a big deal. So,
are they going to do that?
Like the Wraith Seer is.
Okay.
I just assume that they're going to do that. Maybe not.
How about you, John? What's your favorite army?
I think Death Guard is really kind of where I found my niche. I know like I've changed away from them to kind of Chaos Demons because I didn't want to kind of play them kind of like post Forge World and then post New Codex. I'm kind of waiting until the new book comes out. But I'm really kind of digging their playstyle and like where I find the most enjoyment in the game, like you there, Colin, is like with the jank and with doing things that require skill to execute. So I never want to be able to turn around and like have my opponent be like, oh yeah, you won because you just ran this like internet list that's just like Leviathan or kind of things like that. So kind of finding the weird combos in the jank is really good. And like this past 8-9 months, I think I found a couple of like really solid Death Guard things that really work for me, that I go really excited about. But I don't think that lets me use the assault phase, to be honest. Like that's why I think I like Tyranids. That's why I think I like the Death Guard I'm using, the Khorne I'm using. The assault phase is just the extra movement phase. So it's kind of I don't care if I wound you or not. I'm just going to end up closer to the objectives than you are.
Just shooting people gets boring too.
Yeah.
Like I played that 5 tournaments with Tau, and at the end of that, I'm just like, man, I really want to punch something. Like I want something to run across the table and get in combat and cause problems.
Yeah, and like I took an all close combat army with no flyers to a GT, and like I won like a couple of the games against. I think I won a game against like Eldar Flyers and against Tau, and it all came from not kind of like obviously like close combat damage, but just controlling what my opponent did. And like I find like I'm most satisfied when I limit your options on what you can do and kind of really force choices on you. And so like Death Guard helps me do that. Khorne has really helped me do that. And so like that's where I find most joy.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Danny, what other hot takes do you have for Colin here?
That was it.
That was it.
I'm out of takes. Those were good takes, though.
Those were awesome. Yeah. Colin, thank you so much for those amazing insights into Danny's hot takes. Your controversial opinion on beans will live on forever. This episode won't be called Peanut Butter with Colin.
I haven't. That's fine. I have no problem with that. I hadn't really thought about bean ranking before, so you did catch me a little bit off guard. like if we talked about. We could talk about ranking. We could talk about the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup and how some of the shapes are better than others. Like, there's lots of great hot takes. I just don't care. Like I will die on the hill that the tree-shaped Reese's Peanut Butter Cup is the superior form.
Because of the higher amount of peanut butter in there.
That's a hot take right there. It's the ratio is different for sure because of how the process of which they made it.
I can't believe you're talking about this. I had this conversation like literally less than a week ago with my wife.
And she was wrong.
So it's trees.
We're all pro tree over here. We love trees.
But then the Easter ones come before the normal ones. Yeah, the eggs.
And then the mini ones.
And then the bullshit. No, then the bullshit thin ones. I want Why are you thin, Reese's Peanut Butter Cup? I'm not going to lose weight by eating you. Don't fuck around. What's going on here? Yeah, I actually, the little ones, I don't like them nearly as much as the big ones either. The taller ones that are smaller, the mini ones. Yeah, there you go. There's something I'm more passionate about than beans, peanut butter, and chocolate.
Man, you got peanut butter in our chocolate for sure. Check out Colin.
Dirty.
That's how it was meant to sound. But if you like what you're Colin,
I'm just saying.
Check him out for more hot Reese's takes on the Best in Faction podcast. Also, be sure to go to charityhammer.com and participate. If you can donate. But absolutely check out some really top class players. Play some amazing lists. And then prepare for summer for Charity Hammer, where I know we're going to be covering Danny's training, and I'm sure I'm going to make some kind of weird montage like Rocky style to really hype you up for it.
I'm so jealous
for that.
I need a John in my life.
It's like I get my value and I keep my spot by just doing weird shit like that. But Colin, thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Earl Hagen was a legend. In 1960, he whistled his way into Hollywood and into our hearts. Decades later, he made a comeback, lending those lustrous lips in the 1980s to such bands as the Scorpions, Guns N' Roses, and Pat Benatar. A half-century after his humble beginnings, he's at it again. This time without cumbersome musical accompaniment, he'll have you wetting your whistle and whistling along. His new album, Earl Whistles Disney, is sure to be a hit with all generations. Order now and receive a bonus album, Earl Whistles More Shit, a collection of previously unreleased material of Earl's favorite songs through the years. On this bonus album, he demonstrates his newly mastered technique of inward whistling. Order yours today on compact disc or double-length cassette. Also available at fine retailers such as Walgreens, CVS, and participating Sam Goody stores. Earl Whistles Disney. Buy it today.
Oh man, thanks again to Colin from Best Infection for stopping by to talk to us. That was an amazing conversation. I was a little like, it's like, how's this going to go? I was never really kind of sure, but it was a great conversation. Colin, of course, an awesome guy. And yeah, had a lot of fun.
It was great. I definitely had a lot of fun in that interview.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely charityhammer.com. Go there to find out everything that's happening this year with Hammer Out Cancer, Charity Hammer proper itself. Danny's going to be a large part of both of those. I'm super excited to kind of feed Danny lines to really forward some grudges for me. That is, I think, what I'm most excited for more than anything else. Heck yeah.
Yep.
Heck yeah. Well, Danny, I don't think we really have much to go on. We're working on some cool stuff for next episode here. Let us know what you think of this interview format. I mean, we're having a lot of fun with it. We're really just getting to talk to our friends about our hobby, which is not a bad way to spend kind of an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah, and it's always good, like especially in this day and age, to check in and check up with people and like be a little bit social in that way. And that's been extremely entertaining and fulfilling for me, for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we have a couple people we reached out to. Hopefully we'll be able to announce something. And just, yeah, it's been a lot of fun, man. It's hard not to talk about those FAQs. Definitely check them out though. And let us know what you think of them, because we'll definitely spend some time at the start of the next episode kind of going over some of the big changes and kind of some of the things you're going to see a little later on. Sorry, go. Yeah,
they came out, and I had a voice chat this morning with the members of our Patreon group.
Oh yeah, you did,
and we went over some of the different stuff. So thanks for our Patreons. That was super fun. I always like talking through stuff with people, and they picked up on stuff that I missed. So it was definitely pretty fun.
I want to just reach out here real quick. I know he doesn't listen to podcasts, but the guest from our last episode, Innes, WTC All-Star, captain of Team Scotland, Skull Altar Denier.
No longer.
No longer. Skull Altars are now officially 40K models again. So just you wait, because I own one, and I'm never going to run it, because, man, are they okay. But they are now legal for competitive play in Warhammer 40,000. Also,
that's good.
Blood Crushers went down 5 points. Oh, that was surprising.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
They're 40 points each now instead of 45.
John, stop it. Next episode, we got to talk about.
That's fair. I just want to point out that now, instead of going, oh God, I can't take those are so expensive, I'm like, oh, I can't take those, they're too expensive. But good to see changes. So yeah, next episode, let us know, what do you want to see? And then also, like, we have some ideas about people we want to talk to. Who do you want us to talk to? We'll reach out. And then we'll have those conversations. Like, we've talked to Innes so far, we talked to Colin, and there's the only way is up after Innes. For sure.
Steady rise since then.
Steady rise. So let us know who you want to talk to, who you want to hear from, what do you want to hear about, and you can do that through our Facebook page. You can find me on Twitter at, was it Hi John Q? I think it is. Yeah, I think it's Hi John Q. And then Danny at Villicate5.
Yep, that's me.
Super exciting. Well, Danny, I don't think I have anything else to talk about. I will say the one thing that is weird about recording the way we record now is like that we spend the majority of our time recording one night, and then the next night we get together for like 5 minutes to do like an outro, and it feels quite strange, but that's okay.
Well, yeah, but it's a new format, new way of doing things, and changes. Sometimes it's good to change stuff up.
Hell yeah, new year, new us. So for Mob Rules, I've been John.
I've been Danny,
and we'll see you next time.
Anecdotal.